welcome to Marriage Minute. Today on Marriage Minute, we are going to talk about something that maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with, but I bet you a lot of people have experienced it. It's called emotional infidelity. Now, what is that? Well, are you asking me to say what it is?
Yeah, what is that?
Emotional infidelity is simply this. It is when a married couple experiences infidelity on an emotional level versus a physical level. So often couples will begin to have emotional relationships with people before they actually go to the physicality of one. And so some people feel like they're not cheating on their spouse if they're just in a connection with someone and they are not having physical relationships with them, but that's where it starts. It always starts with the seed. And to me, especially when I think about men and think about how easy it is possibly for them to commit that physical act, and then how hard it is sometimes for them to connect emotionally. To me, emotional infidelity can be stronger and sometimes more deadly, honestly, in a relationship than physical. I'm not saying physical is bad. It's good though.
Oh, they're both bad.
They're both bad. You want to talk about our own issues?
Oh, you can start now.
I just finished talking.
Yeah, no, but
Talk about your experience and not talk about mine.
oh, so I am guilty of emotional infidelity,
Me too.
and it's very subtle, and I think you have to really be reflective and look at yourself and figure out where you are in life, and look at the voids that are present in your life. Uh, there were some things that happened early on in my childhood that affected me emotionally. And so, as I reflect and look at how my character tried to process that and manifest itself in those different relationships, certain things were just important to me. I knew no other way. Um, there was no reason to why I do what I do. And so, as I had female friends outside of our relationship, it was more on an intimate level of just being a connection of making sure that I was normal, and that was my default. And so, not really understanding what emotional connection is between a man and a woman, I had no idea. And so, I went to work, I came home, I did everything that I physically saw or thought a man or a husband should do, but I never understood what it meant to be emotionally connected to my wife. And so for me, I was able to maintain friendships easily, because I controlled what aspect of my life that I would put out there and what I would allow to be present in those relationships. And so, not knowing that, what you think is very harmless, you find yourself to be very far away from the shore, so to speak, because it seems to be very senseless or very innocent, and it can be very destructive. And not saying that those friendships were destructive, but it was what it meant to me and what I was not able to provide within the confines of my marriage, where it was destructive. Uh, and it's very subtle, and you have to be very protective and very careful because the enemy, I mean, he wasn't playing with me, and I couldn't see it, and that's usually when things really take a turn for the worse, is when you can't see it, and now you live within those lies or within that framework or that mindset that these things are important to me, and what you're talking about is not, and you want to take it away from me, so I'm going to fight that. I'm going to fight for that versus maintain and stay within the relationship.
And so it is subtle, like Mark talked about. It usually starts with communicating with someone at work and just talking about work stuff, or someone even at church, or someone you're in an organization with. You all start bonding with one another and you find yourself really emotionally attracted to that person. You start sharing little tidbits about your life with that person more than you do your spouse. And because it's a warning sign that goes off, but because it's so subtle and because it's innocent, you kind of like, it's okay. And I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes these are relationships that just start up. But sometimes there are relationships that maybe have been around in your life for a long time and you think they're innocent. Oh, that's just my friend. But when you find yourself attaching emotionally to that person outside of your relationship, that is infidelity, and you are treading on thin ice, because anything that you can share with someone outside of your relationship that you can't share with your spouse first is a problem. Yeah. And we found it to be a big problem. And even though it was so hurtful for Mark to expose our relation to that several times, guess what? I turned around and did the same thing. And so we found ourselves trying to medicate ourselves with these outside relationships instead of working on one another. And we had to come to Jesus meeting, really, and to decide that even though those subtle relationships we thought were okay, they were
not at all. And you have to really look at what's more important. And then once you realize that you can kind of get everything that you need within the confines of your relationship, your marriage, you have to really weigh what's important. Is my gain over here worth more than my gain or loss over here?
And we didn't learn that by ourselves.
No.
We had to go through a lot of counseling to get to that. And so emotional infidelity is not good. It does not help you. It doesn't help your relationship. It doesn't benefit you. And it definitely does not help you to run at his pace.
Good night, and God bless.